Speak up your phone.
Hi there. So I just wanted to do a few brief introductions before we officially start the meeting tonight. We have some new members of our Board of Adjustment, and the current members of our Board of Adjustment have not met in a very long time. We have staff present, so I just thought we would introduce everyone quickly. We will also swear in the new Board of Adjustment members here in a few minutes. So our Board of Adjustment members, Mr. DeMarco on the end, Mr. Kemple, a representative from our Planning Commission, Mr. Bornstein, our chairman of this board and member of our Board of Trustees, and Mr. Wilhelmi, our new Board of Adjustment member as well. Your planning staff, Larry Manning, Planning Director. I'm Jennifer Jones, Senior Planner. This is Drew Anderson from the Planning Department. And then other town staff that's present, we have our town clerk, Ms. Laura Hogan in the back, and town attorney, Alicia Corley. Thank you for joining us. Just a few brief things about the Board of Adjustment before we get started. Again, since this board hasn't met in a very long time. The Board of Adjustment has the authority to hear variance requests. This board does make a final decision tonight. And this board is typically made up of 5 members. 4 members is a quorum. We do still have a vacancy, so if you know of anyone who would like to join our Board of Adjustment, certainly put them in contact with me. And then I wanted to let everyone know that actually per state statute, it does take 4 yes votes from this board to approve a variance. So everyone kind of knows what they're looking at tonight. And then I will go ahead and turn it over to the town clerk to swear in the 2 new members.
If I can stand right here, and if you 2 gentlemen would just stand where you're. Actually, I don't need you, Mr. Kemple. We're going to swear in. You're not on the hot seat tonight.
Ooh,
okay.
Mr. Wilhelmi, am I saying it right?
You are.
Wilhelmi.
You got it.
Okay.
Thank
You
you.
can read along with this. This is the actual oath that you're going to be signing for me after we take the oath.
Thank you.
And same thing. All right. So if you will raise your right hands and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Chris Wilhelmi,
Do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and laws of the United States,
and
laws of the United States,
the Constitution and statutes
the Constitution and statutes
of the state of Colorado,
of the state of Colorado,
and the ordinances of the town of Monument,
and the ordinances of the town of Monument,
and that I will faithfully perform my duties
and that I will faithfully perform my duties
as a member of the Board of Adjustment
as a member of the Board of Adjustment
for the town of Monument,
for the town of Monument,
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Fabulous. So if you could just sign the affirmation that you just took.
And then we usually say, haha, gotcha.
And thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll just do one final reminder, and then I will turn it over to Chairman Bornstein. If you'll just please turn on your microphones when you speak. And then if the light is on, it's on. And then obviously if the light's off, it's off. Just as a reminder.
We ready? Miss Hogan, do you do roll call for us?
I do the roll call.
Oh, could you roll call, please?
Absolutely. Chairman Bornstein.
Yes, sir.
Board Member Kemple.
Here.
Board Member DeMarco.
Here.
Board Member Wilhelmi.
Here.
You do have a quorum.
Excellent. We can do the Pledge of Allegiance to my colleagues and our guests. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. So we're here today on public hearing VO1 2017 869 Tailings Drive rear setback variance. So I think I'm going to pass it over to our staff to review.
Mr. Anderson will be presenting tonight.
So welcome. Thank you guys for attending. I speak on behalf of the applicant saying it's been a long road and we're all very excited that you're here, so thank you. As the chairman stated, we are seeking a variance to the rear setback at 869 Tailings Drive. General location for you, we are east of the freeway, east of Come and Go in the village center at Woodmore District. we are speaking about property 869 Tailings Drive. It's a relatively new build and it's situated right next to Woodmore Acres. There is a plot of land, as you can see there, a trail that runs through the back of the property that is HOA land. They are currently in the process of developing it. We just actually went over there earlier today to kind of see and get a look at it one last time. And it's a common area owned by the HOA. The lot itself is 6,401 square feet. Currently, as standard for this entire area, there's a 15-foot rear setback and a 7-foot rear utility easement. What is being proposed by the applicant is a 8-foot reduction to the rear setback to line up evenly with the 7-foot utility easement. Purpose of the variance is for building an addition, which we'll get to shortly, to the home, and the entire project has been reviewed by and approved by the HOA. This is a front-facing view of the property. You can see the how close it is to the street, the length of the driveway, the topography on the front right is one of the reasons that we are bringing this forward, and the applicant will speak more on that here in a bit. This is some views of the back of the property. As you can see, it butts to that trail, which then abuts the street. And in the top left picture is the next closest rear neighbors across Woodmore Acres Drive. As I said, this area is being developed and maintained by the HOA, and there's at this time, any reason why any development would be done on it. The applicant is seeking a variance to the rear setback due to topography, lot size, house placement, and orientation on the lot. As you can recall from the front-facing photos, saw roughly where it was placed, how it was placed, the hill, the landscaping, and the length of the driveway. The purpose of the proposed variance is to build a patio cover and pergola attached to the house that you saw in your packets, kind of a mock-up of what that's anticipated to look like, size, and the shape. The walls of the pergola and the patio cover, there shall be no walls. This will be a see-through item. Only structural is just the pillars, columns that hold it up. And staff feels that any the impact to the adjacent properties, the properties around it, the rear, should be minimal as a result of this. As such, staff recommends approval of the variance, an 8-foot reduction in the rear setback to be even with a 7-foot utility easement. We feel that this complies with all standards and criteria of approval. And at this time, I am open for any questions, or if any of you would like to see a slide again.
Questions from the board?
The construction is not going to affect that walkway trail?
That is absolutely correct. It'll
Just
be on the property.
Yeah.
Would this be in the future, if this variance was granted, is there any additional scrutiny that's given any construction within that variance? The variance has already been approved, but the pergola goes away or something else different changes?
Part of the process would be if I'm understanding your correction, say they get this variance, the pergola goes in, the people were to sell the house, and because this property has the variance, they were to tear this down and put, say, a 4-season porch or something with walls. That sort of a project would be going through our permitting process, which is actually how this variance got started in the first place. A new person would need to submit a permit to get a swear off by Pikes Peak Regional Building, who would be doing the inspections for that process. So we would know about it ahead of time before it would just appear.
If I could just add to that, this variance would be for this project. The applicant is required to get a building permit for this project within 6 months. So if it's 5 years down the road, then you would be starting over.
Thank you.
Okay, I just had a couple of questions. You mentioned impact to the adjacent properties minimal.
Yes, sir.
I would have liked to have heard no impact to the property. So can you just define what you mean by minimal?
I think it would be unreasonable for us to say that there would be no impact. We don't know the people adjacent. I did make sure to advise the applicant to speak to their neighbors and to have that conversation with them to make sure that this is, that everyone was in the loop and we went through the public notification and all that. I don't want to be going on and telling you that, hey, the people, as you can see here to the right and the left, aren't going to be affected at all. I don't think that's reasonable. I think that would be doing you in service. But we feel that based on the location and, the way the houses are facing and the way everything is, that it should be minimal.
Okay. And then the other question I had, again, we haven't had requests of this come across, at least not in my tenure, so it's new and it's a newer development. Would we anticipate similar requests as continue to build? Because obviously we're seeing very diversified lots, locations, how they are, and we do know there's more development coming. Do we anticipate this as a total change, or will it be case by case?
It is absolutely a case-by-case situation. It is lot specific. Every house is placed on the lot a little bit differently, is how the builder that built the entire area kind of designs it. So every house, every lot has this general, hey, 7 feet setback, 15-foot setback, rear sides, but it's absolutely site specific based on, and that was why I made sure to mention everything that's unique about this property in particular.
And then my last question, the notices that went out, we didn't really hear from the neighbors, or nobody came or responded to the extent that we might. Because I know a lot of times notices go out and it's transparent, so.
Right. Staff received one phone call this afternoon. I believe that resident is here to speak tonight.
Okay, thank you. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I think we'll pass it on now to our resident. If you'd like to come up and present, we'd love to hear. Thank you. And welcome.
Good evening. My name's Bill Worsham. This is my wife, Judy. We're the owners of 869 Tailings Drive, the property requesting the rear setback variance. First, I'd like to thank everyone for working with us, helping us come up with a solution for our hardship. Mr. Anderson's presentation shows that we presented our project to the HOA and that it was approved. That was back in November. We've been at this for a while. His presentation also showed the layout of the adjacent homes. And to expand on that briefly, if I'm standing at my back door to go onto my slab, my concrete slab, if I look to the right, I can see a fence, just a back end of a fence from the neighbor to the right of me. And on the left, I can see a fence, the back of a fence as well. So we're pushed way back. Typically, you would expect to see, the entire neighborhood, but we're pushed way back. Yeah, that's the problem. The lot is has a unique topography and setting of the house. We didn't realize that it was going to be such an issue when we got in our home, and wow, this is a nice patio that we have, the concrete. And anyway, it ended up that the setback has, that the builder placed the house in. It creates our situation, which we have no control. We went through the permit process, as Mr. Anderson said, and lo and behold, we found we couldn't build just a patio cover and a pergola. Many of our neighbors have already installed either pergolas or patio covers to protect them from the sun. And we're asking to be allowed the same opportunity that our neighbors have to protect our home from the harsh, direct southern exposure that we have. As we stated in our letter requesting the variance, after living in the home for a couple of years, we found extremely hot. Even in the wintertime, the southern exposure would come in the windows, and we'd have the air conditioning come on in the wintertime. The southern part of the house would be very, very hot, and the other side of the house would be quite chilly. So it creates quite a problem. We put a fancy thermostat in, a high-tech thermostat with remote sensors in hopes of resolving the problem. That didn't do the job. We put the solar not screens, but the solar film on the windows to reduce the sun. Did very little. So we came to the conclusion that we really need this patio cover and pergola to reduce the harsh southern exposure issues. So our lot, when we purchased the home, was a premium lot because of it had just open space to the rear. And if I could correct one of Drew's comments, it's actually the Village Center at Woodmore Metro District is the owner of the property as opposed to the HOA. So, and they're the ones that are doing they're re-landscaping the whole area. It's going to be really a nice park-like setting. So we're asking the Board of Adjustments to approve our request, allowing us the same opportunity as our neighbors to protect us from the sun. If you have any particular construction questions, I know you may have already had them answered, but Mr. Albert Wills from Dream Team Construction is the contractor required to do it, providing we have the approval. I thank you very much for your time.
Could I add something?
Of course.
Just, the concrete pad was placed there by the builder. We had no idea we wouldn't be able to cover it. And we're not asking to increase our living space, just for some shade, just a shade.
Any questions from the board?
Is there anyone on that street right there that you're on have one of these covers in their back as well? You said that.
Not on our,
On it, on
if
your
you were to walk the trail
Mhm.
that's back there, you go around the corner and there are patio covers there
And the people across from us?
across from the front of our home on the other street. They have pergolas
on the
there.
side.
And there's just been a recent patio cover installed in the newer area that actually doesn't show homes on that drawing or the picture. It shows just open space.
Any other questions from the board? No. I know this is, oh, yes, sir, please.
Speak, please.
Yes.
My name is Albert Wills, and I'm with Dream Construction. When I did the investigation, there was a variance already pulled on their house by the builders because they couldn't build the house, because if they would have built it forward the street, their driveway would have been this steep. So they got a variance to push it back so that they can lower it. But then, and also, they dropped the driveway, so they got 3 steps coming down to lower it. They wouldn't be able to make the setbacks even if it was up 2 foot. And so this is a rare type of situation. I deal with it all. I've been building in Colorado for 13 years. And I think accepting the situation that they're in, I'm gonna agree a little less than what you said about minimum of what their pergola would do. It's gonna be way less than minimum. It's open. It's, I mean, the neighbors can see through their yard. They can see through their yard. The impact of waiting as long as they have, it's like, man, it's really rough. And if you look at the pictures of the back of the home with the big arch and all the windows, we know the electrical lights, there's no way they can stop them unless they sit in their house in the day with dark curtains, excuse me. They gotta have dark curtains, and then they'll wake up to be in a funeral home. You know, the light that they got coming through, the roof will minimize that sun that's coming in. And I live in Monument. I live off of 105.
He's one of our neighbors.
And the thing that's puzzling me the most is I built a 6,000 square foot house, 6-car garage. I put a covered porch on. I didn't close it off till my wife told me she wanted to build another house because she didn't like sitting in the kitchen. I said, no, I'm gonna go and we're gonna close off this patio. I came up, got everything done. I never had to go through this, the situation of just the close off or whatever. So it's hard for me to understand. I do know a little bit why, because the board wasn't here, but to put up a porch from November to now, and I didn't have to go through this. And that's what's concerning to me. And believe me, I worked really hard with Bill and Judy too, but I'm sorry, she's the main corporate. Believe me, she is the main corporate. But it's very disturbing. If I didn't live in Monument and hadn't been through this, then I would say, I don't understand. But I live in Monument. I got a covered porch on my house, and I closed it in. Didn't have nearly this problem of concern. So, like I said, they've been put in a situation that regardless where their house is, they'll never meet that situation. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
We're good.
Okay. I believe that they did send out over 40 letters, and I don't know that one. Thank you.
I'm gonna open this up. Is there anybody here that wants to speak for this? Beyond who we've heard?
I do
No,
have neighbors
no,
who
it's
are
okay.
approving it, but I didn't bring them.
Okay, now I'm gonna ask, is there anybody here that wants to speak against this for any reason? Can you come on up? Thank you.
My name's Eric Sepp. I live 2 doors up from them, and I had several things I wanted to talk about with y'all.
When you say 2 doors up,
I live 2 doors, if you go to the zoom in, so mine would be,
Are you looking to the right or left?
it'd be to the right on the screen. So I got a couple pictures. This is the aspect from my backyard.
Thank you.
So when they talk about view impediment, or that view impediment is going to be minimized, and that it's going to be a see-through, I completely disagree, because if you look at the plans, while part of it's a pergola, the other part's an attached structure. When we, so that's my view from my porch looking towards the subject home, and I basically just took Microsoft Paint, I copied their plans, and I said this is what it's, essentially what it's going to look like. Well, when we all purchased these lots and these homes, we all paid lot premiums to have views, and we were promised views by the builder of said mountains. So I paid $8,500 extra on my lot so I could look out at the park, but then also look sideways down at the mountains. I also happened to work on the HOA for the better part of a year in this neighborhood with forming it, and I worked with Kerry Contrell For ZNR Management, who's the current HOA manager, I also work with Jared St. Aubin, who is the builder. And we came up with a series of plans on protecting people's views. So, number one, we all agreed that the max height of anything that was to be built is 10 feet. So I don't know how the HOA supposedly approved this in the first place, because I have all the documentation here that we all agreed to as an HOA back in April 27th of 2017, stating that nothing would be larger than, or taller than 10 feet. We also said that there would be no structure that has greater than a 200 square foot footprint in the neighborhood. So the fact that there's supposedly other pergolas or built structures, that's true, but only to a point, and it's controlled, and it's specifically to protect everybody's lot premiums and their views of the mountains and of this park. Because when you look at the aspect of the homes, you pay for the view of the park, but what you really pay for is to sit out on your porch, be able to turn left and look at the mountains. So, I guess all that said, I would hope the board would take into consideration that they're about to toast a bunch of lot premiums that we all paid extra for the views, and it's supposedly violating HOA law that we all agreed on about a year ago, saying that nothing would be bigger than 10 feet in height. So when you look at other pergolas and stuff that are built, you'll see that their footprint is no larger than 200 square feet, and that they are not higher than 10 feet. And there's, I think, actually along that row, there are no pergolas in the neighborhood. I guess the last thing, from an insurance perspective, we've been working for 2 years now to become a Firewise community. So one of the things that we get with being, or one of the things that we're working towards as a Firewise community is trying to minimize outcrop buildings, as well as the amount of debris that could be kicked up in the event of a storm, a windstorm or a firestorm. So one of the things that we were working with the company that gives us the Firewise accreditation is that yes, the whole reason we had this not higher than 10 feet and not larger than a 200 square foot footprint, it was all about insurance regulations and making us all have cheaper homeowners insurance. So if you approve this, this will be the only structural addition allowed in the entire development, and it will raise homeowner insurance for 160 or 70 odd homes that are in the development. And you're going to toast the lot premiums of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 homes that paid the premiums to be able to see the mountains. So that's over $90,000 in lot premiums up in smoke. Anyways, I just hope you all would be willing to take that into consideration. Maybe talk with ZNR Management, the current HOA management company, because this was all done in writing over a year ago, and there's very specific reasons why we don't allow these structures in the neighborhood.
Any questions? I've got, oh no, please.
No, I'm still forming it.
Oh, I just want to understand, and maybe I should ask of my colleagues, that the current HOA did approve this.
We do have a letter stating that, yes, and I believe Mr. Anderson even talked to them on the phone.
Okay.
So I don't know how the HOA is going against their own laws that we established over a year ago.
We have a copy of it.
I have a copy.
Well, there's a
And
copy.
I got a copy of the laws.
Yeah.
There's a copy in the packet.
Yeah.
Oh, there it
Okay.
is. And here's,
Well, let me ask, have you seen the approval letter from the HOA?
No, I just got the form letter in the mail along with everybody else in the neighborhood that there was going to be a meeting tonight about this.
Okay. And you mentioned you worked with Carrie Cantrell?
Yeah, it was ZNR Management.
Okay. And she's the signatory on this. Did you?
So that's really weird because Jared St. Aubin and Carrie Cantrell are the signatory on this.
Okay. And what you're holding right there is the.
So this was a whole thing that myself, the builder, Carrie Cantrell, and Matt Daly of St. Aubin Homes, the original builder, had all gone through and worked specific guidelines for what people were allowed to build in the neighborhood as people went through and submitted plans for their backyard development.
Okay. Any questions?
Is there a rule, or HOA rule about trees in the backyards?
Not to my knowledge, just the landscaping has to be reasonable and it has to adhere to all the utility easements. That was the only thing that we enforced.
So, for instance, if the house between, next to you in this picture right here, they put in 2 trees that grew to a substantial height, the same as a pergola, and it blocked your view, is that gonna violate an HOA rule?
I couldn't tell you on trees now.
There are 3 trees that are landscaped there between him and us.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking hypothetical. I don't know.
But it would create the same situation as the,
I guess in
Pergola.
theory, yeah, but you can still see through pine trees, right, or trees, whatever.
well, depends.
You can't really see through a roof.
Any other questions?
Have the Warshams and their builder been able to see this depiction and just comment on the accuracy of what you put in?
I mean, they'd be willing to look at it, but I just took exactly what they said their plans were gonna be, which is extending the extension to the end of their concrete pad off of the revetment, and you'll notice I chose the middle revetment on the roof outcropping, because that's where their plan said it was gonna come from.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Did you sign in, sir?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Oh, I apologize for that. I should have. I'll bring it back to the board, or
Do you have anybody else?
I think that,
That's back there.
do we have anybody else that wanted to speak? Or again?
I'm not really opposed, I have neutral questions.
Would you like to come up? Please. We appreciate you coming. Thank you.
By the letter, so.
My name is Jason Gardner. I live on that map, probably 6 or 7 houses up to the right, same direction as that last gentleman. No, I actually was kind of confused on what was going on tonight. I didn't know if we were trying to expand lot, or do whatever. I didn't know what was going on, so I wanted to find out. My concern is, if you grant this and let them build this, is this gonna make this easier for everybody else along the same line to build? I mean, same things there. Is this gonna make it much simpler for them to apply for it, or is this still gonna be on a case-by-case basis, depending on where each house is?
Still, my understanding would still be case by case. You have to go through, starting with the HOA, then to here.
Okay, my concern is, same lines as his. The reason we bought our house is outside that patio, we have a view of the mountains. You said minimal site, changes to what could be made. I'd be interested to know what that is. Pillars, like you were talking about, roof line, etc. But for him, the same lines as myself, I bought that house to look out these mountains, and that was the reason we ended up where we were. So that was my main concern. If this one is approved, as long as hopefully it stays on a case-by-case basis, that row of houses are there for that reason, to look at those mountains. That's what I'd be concerned about. So, yeah, I don't really have, like I said, not opposition, but I'm neutral to see what could happen in the future with that if this is approved.
Thank you very much. I'll bring it back to the board for comments.
Certainly you might want to ask for if there's any rebuttal
Yeah.
on the
Oh,
Yeah.
my apologies. Is there any rebuttal?
There he is. Actually, we talked to Eric a couple of weeks ago, because he didn't understand what the hearing was about. We explained it to him, and, he expressed no concerns. He actually told us good luck with that. Now, maybe it was sarcasm on his part, I don't know. But he's also, every time we have a conversation, he's quick to tell us he hates the neighborhood, and he's moving to Flying Horse, and he's gonna rent his house out. So I think his concerns are,
Ma'am?
That's,
You address
he's
the-
not a
Yeah.
member of the
Yeah.
HOA.
Okay.
No,
There
Oh,
are
that's what it
trees
was.
planted there that would be far more obstructive than our tall roof would only be. We're not putting a wall up. And the Metro District has planted evergreen trees there on that corner, which would be far more block. And our lot is unique. I don't think anybody else in that neighborhood has a setback problem. And when St. Aubin poured us that concrete, we had no idea it would be an issue. We trusted the builder. And I've talked to several neighbors, and I wish I would have brought them. They're in full support of it.
Thank you very much.
We mean no harm to anybody, just some shade.
I'll just make a comment to everybody here, because the board, there's no personal factor in it. We take the expertise from our planning department and our colleagues, and we just look at the facts. And again, usually when issues come to us, it's because it's not an absolute. So you asked a very good question. If this is approved, does this mean that everyone is? There's always special situations, and that's why it comes to the Board of Adjustment. So with that, I'm going to open it up to my colleagues for some discussion, and then we can decide if someone wants to make a motion. Comments?
I just think understand the reason, the purpose for it. Or going through having seen everyone go through or having the Worshmans go through the proper channels, and it starts with the HOA, right? With the letter that we have.
Yeah, I'm looking at this and just thinking about the natural barriers that could be planted and obstructions that could easily do the same, if not greater harm to the view that was mentioned. That's something that I think about, and I'm not aware of, and I could be wrong here, but I'm not aware of any restrictions on planting trees or large shrubs or other natural furnishings that would otherwise obstruct.
I think, again, I'm going to agree with my colleagues again. First, seeing, I just wanted to validate, but seeing when the HOA approves it, and I know our planning department looks at this very closely, and this is a special situation, so I'm going to see if there's a board member that wants to make a motion for either approval or not. And that would be, it's about the third page, towards the bottom. So, either for approval or for not.
I'll move that the Board of Adjustments approve Project V, TAC 10, TAC 2017, variance for the rear setback required for 869 Tailings Drive based on the findings that a proposed development complies with all standings and criteria for approval.
You have a second?
A second.
And then can I get a roll call, please?
Board Member DeMarco.
Yes.
Board Member Wilhelmi.
Yes.
Chairman Bornstein.
Yes.
Board Member Kimball.
Yes.
4 yes votes, motion passes.
I want to thank everybody for coming here. This is very difficult, and we go on the facts. I do want to make a comment. I want to thank you on your landscaping. It's nice to see xeriscape and what have you, and just trying to be proactive. And I know that everybody here at the town, we support that, and we wish you luck and hope that things cool down a little bit.
Thank you so
In your
much.
home.
Yes.
Literally.
Could we see the drawing that was
Are you
presented?
guys reimbursing my lot fee? All of our lot fees? This is all of us here. You guys just toasted us, 90,000 on lot fees for all of the.
Sir, I believe the discussion is
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
Do you agree, Chairman?
If it's
It
for
is.
sun, why
It
can't
is.
they just put an aluminum sunshade?
If you have discussions, we have a board meeting coming up on Monday, and
Yeah,
for
I would
residents.
sue to stop this.
Okay. Someone make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
You should give the-
This thing.
No.
There's not an absolute just in the 316. If you want that, you can get it, but you won't pay for it.
But see, that's how the developers are targeting too. They qualify premium lots.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're gonna keep personalities out of it. We're just trying to stick with the facts. The facts of the findings. Yeah. Well, I looked at the areas for future development to see if there's gonna be any other further restrictions, but you can't stop anyone from, when his neighbor planted trees, that's gonna partially block. I'm sure that they're, without looking up all the HOA rules and policies. I mean, that's the other thing.
I don't get it, man. The HOA already signed off on all this. This was all in law a year ago.
And in fairness, and I understand what you're saying, but all we deal with is the information given to us and the facts. We can't go by. I can't go by that.
Here's the HOA guidelines.
I can't go by that because I have a person that signed it. Right.
I have the same person signed this.
But those are guidelines. I have a document for them active right now. I just have to
Dude,
go.
you just toasted our stuff.
I didn't toast
What the hell,
anything.
man?
I can't.
We paid lot premiums for all this, and now our insurance is going up.
I encourage you to come.
Just
up-
like you guys screwed us on the park, right? You guys let the developer bond go for $1 million, and now we're
Okay.
stuck developing the park.
I'm gonna ask you, we're done, okay?
Right.
I'm gonna ask, we're done.
Where does it stop with you
Okay,
guys?
We're done.
Seriously.
Hey, thank you.
I think they're done.
We're done.
No,
We're
with
done.
you as well, man.
You know what?
You were
We're
the
done.
city
I'm
planner,
just
right?
trying to keep this orderly, and that's another way
Okay.
we can deal with this other than.
That's great.
presently.
I'm gonna have you escorted if you don't leave
what?
kindly. Okay? We're
I'm being
done.
super respectful.
We're
I'm just
done.
asking some hard
We're
questions
done.
that you guys aren't answering.
We're done. No more conversation,
You
please.
guys are just
We're
sitting
done.
here.
We're
Done.
done.
Do you guys live in Monument?
We're done.
Do you guys even live in Monument? You flew in from Vegas, right?
We might have to ask for help.
You wanna call somebody else?
Yeah, it just cost us $90,000.
You know, for him to present their case, you bring the HOA guidelines. You bring the guidelines up, not just saying, hey, I got a piece of paper. And that's just the guidelines, because if you submit for a variance, which they did, and you got approval from nature. Which they did. I know, it's already passed that.
But